Hello everybody and welcome to That Time Again. This is my Volume 3 discussion of War and Peace. So as always, the War and Peace Readalong has been organised by Rincey over at Rincey Reads and Jenny at Adultish Books, links and all the videos down in the description. And let's get on to talking about Volume 3. So as those of you who follow me on Twitter or Goodreads will already know, after falling behind in Volume 2 because I was sick and having to read everything in the second week, for Volume 2, I put myself in exactly the same position again. I then put it down for a week while trying to read other things for other read-alongs that I'm participating in at the moment. Got myself a week behind again, and so I've been feeling really behind all week, trying to catch up to finish Volume 3. So I seem to be doing it on the same schedule as original. I'm just having a week break in between. So I came into the weekend needing to finish 155 pages, and I read them all yesterday on Saturday. And it was a fantastic reading day. I really enjoyed it. Leading up to the weekend, what I've been reading during the week, I didn't think all that much was happening and that I'd really have anything to talk about. But then yesterday's reading happened and a lot happened in that and it was fantastic. So there's a bit to talk about. So Volume 3 was obviously a very war-heavy volume and probably contributed to my feeling like I was going really slowly during the week. Full-time work also. I said in my Volume 1 video that I couldn't notice any change in style for the war parts, but that from the first sentence they felt different. Now I'm noticing that some of the sections are more like a history lesson and we've got a change in tense and we've also got a change in the description. So instead of it being, you know, the troops and the battle and the whatever, it's we did this and our, you know, army did that. And things like historians say or historians think. And so suddenly it's kind of Tolstoy telling you things directly instead of it being through the story. So that was kind of interesting. It makes me wonder whether it was an intentional thing by Tolstoy that he was doing that, instructing you this is the little history blurb to it, this is a calculated thing on his part, or whether he just kind of lapsed and became a little bit lazy in terms of the tense has suddenly changed or the way I'm describing things has suddenly changed. So if anybody's got any thoughts about that, let me know in the comments. I think probably it is a calculated thing. I also removed a section from my Volume 1 video about how I was surprised that we had Napoleon as a character. He wasn't just this distant leader, historical figure. He was actually he had a talking part in the book. He was an actual character and we're getting inside his head as well, which I find really interesting. I don't know how much historical fact there is to what Tolstoy's saying about him. I didn't want to do too much searching because I didn't want to find anything that might spoil myself for how this is going to turn out. Obviously, the historical aspects, we kind of know where that part's going, but I don't want to stumble across any spoilers about War and Peace in general. But I did find mention of the cold that Tolstoy talks about that Napoleon was suffering from during the Battle of Borodino, that was an actual thing. Something else I read also said that he had a bladder infection. However, I suspect the parts where he's saying that the nonsensical orders that Napoleon gave while suffering from the cold were actually his most sensible that he sent during the whole campaign is possibly just Tolstoy having a bit of a dig at Napoleon. I can't imagine that if that was the caliber of the orders he gave to his armies that he would be able to get so far and that he'd be such that historical figure that he is. But it certainly made me giggle during some of those denser war parts. And so moving on to all the drama, first big thing of course is the death of Prince Andrei and Marie's father. Then there's the whole issue with the peasants and them needing to get away and not wanting to leave, and then Nikolai comes to the rescue, and so Nikolai meets Marie and there's this little spark between them that Marie's, you know, come away from this whole thing a little bit in love with Nikolai, and Nikolai's admiring of her. Poor ugly Marie. Where does that leave poor Sonia? Of course, in the eyes of his parents, Marie would be the perfect match for him in terms of her wealth and her standing. That would get them out of a big issue, whereas Sonia is not going to provide anything like that for him. There's also the awkwardness, of course, that marrying my sister's ex-fiance's sister might be, you know, a little bit awkward, but I'm really looking forward to seeing where that storyline goes. So in my Volume 2 video, I talked about Natasha and Natasha being an idiot, and in this volume, the person I'm going to call an idiot is Pierre. Pierre, I don't know what he was doing half of this volume. He's just an idiot, basically. So first we've got him talking about how the letters for Emperor Napoleon add up to 666, which means he's the beast that's been prophesized in the apocalypse. And so, okay, we're calling Napoleon, he's been prophesized in the apocalypse, he's a beast, that's fine. But for some reason then Pierre decides he wants to try and make his name equal 666. Because that's the thing you want to do. So he tries different combinations and he butchers his name. And he finally gets it to equal 666 and he gets really excited about it. And the thing that really interests me about this whole episode is that it's on page 665. Really, you wouldn't work out and change the spacing slightly for this so you could get this whole episode on 666 if you're that close to it? I think an opportunity was missed there. And so I'm already rolling my eyes at this going, really, Pierre, what are you doing? And then he decides he wants to go to battle. He wants to go to battle, and I think it's most aptly summed up by the quote that somebody says, and what are you? Are you a doctor? And Pierre says, no, I'm just here. And basically, he's just there. He's riding around in the middle of everything, getting in the way of everybody. He rides past the battle lines and just riding around in the war zone, just grinning at everything and going, oh, this is great. Really? Pierre, what? And so he's just riding around and loving it all, having a wonderful time. And then a little bit later, someone says to him, oh, you're obviously not used to riding a horse. And he's like, oh, no, it's all right, but she's bouncing for some reason. And it turns out that the horse has been shot when he's ridden her into the battlefield. Pierre, what? And so I really don't know what he was thinking in these scenes, what this was, what he was doing at all. It certainly was a lot of comic relief through the war parts. I enjoyed it. I just don't understand. So meanwhile, we've got the scene where Prince Andrei has been severely injured and they've taken him in and he's lying on the table and he looks over and he notices Anatole's on the next table and it's like, oh god, what's he doing here? And Anatole's having his leg amputated. So I'm going, oh, this is going to be interesting. How is Anatole going to be this real roguish character now when he's lost a leg in the war? How is this going to change his character? What's going to happen for him? And so somewhere along the point, Pierre realizes that, oh, people are actually dying around here, and oh, there's all this blood and all this violence. No, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I want to go home now. And then while Pierre's on his way home, he gets the news that both Anatole and Prince Andrei have died. And I just went, what? There must be a mistake. There must be a mistake in the communication he's been given. Everything gets confused in war. Tolstoy can't have just killed off Prince Andrei. I still don't know where this is going to end up, what's going to happen with everything, but I guess in the back of my mind I was expecting or hoping that it'd work out between Prince Andrei and Natasha, they'd reconcile at some point, to get together with them. So it's like, if Prince Andrei has actually just died, that completely throws out everything that I've been thinking. That must mean she ends up with Pierre, who's been acting like a complete idiot this whole volume. But I guess that means they deserve each other. So I'm sitting there going, no, that can't have happened. But at this point, right after that line, I had a family lunch that I had to go to. I had to put the book down, which was wonderful. It was a great afternoon, but it's like one of the only cliffhangers in this book. And I get it now. And then meanwhile, Pierre's wife's decided, I want to get married. And she's going to get married. And it's like, you do realise you're actually married still. You're married to Pierre. But I don't know, I'm going to get married, despite the fact that I'm married already. So she's sent a letter to Pierre asking for a divorce. So he's had his day on the battlefield. He's had a great day. Then he's had a really bad day and worked out that, oh no, this isn't great at all. He's heard that his brother-in-law and his good friend Prince Andrei have died. And then he comes home to Helene's letter saying she wants a divorce. And this makes Pierre go a little bit feral, I think is how I described it to somebody. He was a bit feral. He just walks out of his house and disappears. He decides he's going to stay in Moscow and assassinate Napoleon when he arrives. And they're going, yep, good luck with that one, Pierre. I can really see you succeeding in that plan. So then he's going along, and I thought for a little while there he was going to adopt that 2-year-old girl that he had rescued. When he came back and he couldn't, his parents weren't there, and it's like, oh my god, Pierre's now going to adopt this 2-year-old. What is going to happen there? But no, now he's being captured, arrested by the French for attacking a French soldier who was trying to steal the jewels off that Armenian woman. And so moving on to Natasha, it looks like she has done some maturing in this volume. We didn't actually get to see all that much of her. She was very absent for a big part of this volume, but it looks like she has done some maturing after her disgrace. Towards the end of this volume, the family are in Moscow, they're preparing to flee, and Natasha opens the house to the Russian wounded. And then she attacks her mother over wanting to bring all their belongings with them instead of offering their carriages to the wounded. So that was great. That was showing a real sense of maturity. We can't leave these wounded soldiers behind. And she does that little knowing that one of the soldiers happens to be a wounded Prince Andrei. And yes, he's alive. But there's still no mention of Anatole, and I really want to know whether he's still alive. So then I was worried that we were going to have to wait till volume 4 before she found out that Prince Andrei was there, but no, Sonia has told her that Prince Andrei is one of the wounded, and she's gone to him, and he says he still loves her, and she shows that maturity again then. The doctor had to admit that he hadn't expected from her such a young lady, such firmness and skill in looking after a wounded man. She's spending all her time with him. So the signs are good. They've had this slight kind of reconciliation. But I'm worried because there's still a whole volume to go and there's plenty of time to screw it up again. But I'm very keen to get started on volume 4. I absolutely had such a great time this past day reading this last bit. I really, really enjoyed it. So I'm wanting to move straight on to volume 4. This time I'm hoping that I'm not going to have that whole week break thing. I'm actually wanting to get a jump on volume 4 because on the kind of the 19th and 20th, just before we're meant to finish, this camera is going to New Zealand with my mother, so I'm not going to have it for a week, and so I'm not going to have it there to film if I'm finishing on the 21st. So I've either got to try and get this done in the next week and get it filmed next weekend hopefully to be prepared, or I'm going to have to try out the quality on my iPhone and see whether I can film on that instead. So as always, thank you for watching. If you are participating in the read along, please let me know down in the comments how you're going and what you thought about volume 3. And I'm going to go get started on volume 4. Bye!